All right, today on Musicians Edition, we are in Essential Elements on the snare drum book, and we're going to look at number 123. So in 123 at the beginning, we have a nice little repeated hand sticking, right? So we use our right hand for a measure of quarter notes, and then our right hand for a measure of eighth notes. And then we work our way into some other alternating rhythms and things like that, pretty similar to what we've already worked on. One really cool thing about this piece is on the second line, you do the same thing as the first two measures, but with the opposite sticking. So very similar to kind of what we talked about before. When you practice one skill with one sticking, it's nice to practice that same skill with the reverse sticking. So at the beginning of 123, we're gonna play 4 quarter notes with our right hand, keeping them nice and steady, right? And then we're gonna change to eighth notes in our right hand, keeping them nice and steady. The trick here is that we don't want our sound to change when the rhythm changes, right? So we're getting the same stroke, the same feeling, we're just doing it twice as fast when we get to measure 2. So let's practice the first couple of measures here, only with the right hand. And ready, and go, and... All right, let's try that one more time, just really listening for consistency in our sound here. And 2, and ready, and go, and... Okay, now let's practice the second line, the first 2 measures on the second line, which is that same thing we just did, but with the left hand. And ready, and go, and... And you may find that with the left hand, it's a little more difficult to get that to be consistent, right? So just keep listening. Maybe give your left hand a few extra reps if it feels kind of uncomfortable, okay?
This lesson is brought to you by the Musicians Edition practice book. Make goals and keep track of progress throughout the whole year. When you're done with this video lesson, don't forget to mark this practice time in your Musicians Edition practice book. Now back to the video.
Now, very similarly to how we've been using a lot of check patterns on the previous page in this book, we're going to play the first 2 measures of the first line, followed by the first 2 measures of the second line, and see if we can get those 2 things to sound the same, right? So we're doing measure 1 and 2, and then we're going to jump immediately to measure 5 and 6, and see if those 2 measures can sound the same, okay? Here we go, 2, ready, and go, and... And switch. Okay, and that's a nice little exercise you can do. You can go back and forth from right hand to left hand. Now, like we've talked about before, something like this would be a great opportunity to get somebody to listen to your playing who's not looking at you, right? Grab a family member or a friend or something, have them face away from you, and listen and see if they can hear when you change stickings, right? See if they notice a difference in your sound when you're using your right hand versus your left hand, and try to get those 2 things to even out to where that friend or family member that you have listening can't tell which hand you're playing with, okay? So now, the rest of the piece, we have some rolls. Again, we're going to use right, left, right, left, right, left in measure 4. We're going to do that twice. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. And this one does right, right. And that's an important point at the end of measure 4. We use 2 rights to get ourselves turned around to our left hand in measure 5, right? If you remember back in the previous video when we were talking about the paradiddle sticking in 122, this is pretty much that same concept where we're playing one hand 2 times in order to get switched over to our other hand, okay? Now on the bottom line, you see we have a similar thing with the buzzes, but at the end of the buzzes, we're going to use our left hand, right? Which tells us that at the beginning of the buzzes, we need to start with our left hand so that when we play buzz, 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 we're ready to play the written left hand on beat 2, okay? So looking at measure 7, we're going to start with the left, right? Measure 7, we go left, right, left, right, left, right. Buzz, 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 left, right, starting with the left. And we're going to do that also on beat 3, buzz, 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 left, right. And then on beat 1, you notice the roll on beat 1 of the last measure ends with the left hand when we come out of it. So we're also going to start that roll with our left hand, right? So all the rolls on the top line start with the right hand. All the rolls on the bottom line start with the left hand. Then at the very end of this piece, we have one flam, okay? The tricky part about that one flam that kind of sticks out, it kind of comes out of nowhere, and it's the very last note of the piece. We want to be careful that we don't play that note too loud, right? We want that note to be the same volume as all the other notes, just the sound quality is going to be a little bit different because it's a flam, right? But we want to make sure that we don't accidentally accent that note because it's not written that way, okay? So now that we've got all that kind of ironed out, let's take it from the beginning and see if we can put this whole piece together, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and go, and... All right, so as you're playing this, there's a lot to listen for, right? To make sure that the right hands and the left hands sound the same in those first two measures like we worked on in our check pattern earlier. To make sure that the rolls that start with the right hand and the rolls that start with the left hand sound the same. Sometimes that can be challenging. Sometimes since we start so many rolls with our right hand, when we try to start them with our left, they feel a little bit awkward and they sound a little bit less good than the rolls we start with our right hand. So make sure if that happens, if you notice that when you're playing the piece, go back, work on some rolls starting with the left hand, right? And just isolate those couple of spots where we have a roll that starts on the left hand and work that out until it feels really, really comfortable before you put it back in context. Okay? So now let's play this piece one more time. We'll go just a little bit faster this time. And we're listening again for all of those things, right? Keeping an eye out for what we might need to come back and what we can come back and clean up after each repetition of the whole piece. Okay? All right, here we go. Last time through. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so that's number 123. Again, there's a lot of stuff in there that you can work on to help develop more consistency in your sound as you're practicing and as you're working on this piece, okay? So have fun with that. Again, always be patient. Let stuff develop slowly over time. Keep extracting different elements and working on those in isolation before you put them back in context, all right? Happy practicing, and I'll see you next time.